The night sky was quiet above Sector 9. No one expected anything strange to happen. Just empty desert, cold winds, and silent stars. But suddenly, something cut through the sky like fire. A bright light appeared, moving fast, shaking the clouds. It wasn't a shooting star. It was too big, too loud, and falling too fast. Then, with a loud crash, it hit the ground. Dust and fire exploded into the air. Birds flew away. Animals ran from the noise. Far away, a young mechanic named Eli Carter heard it. He was fixing an old truck in his garage when the power flickered. The ground shook for a second like a small earthquake. Eli looked up, surprised, grabbed his flashlight, his tool bag, and jumped on his bike. "I bet it's another drone crash," he muttered. He had no idea how wrong he was. When he reached the crash site, it was already smoking. A deep hole burned into the earth, glowing red. At the center was a strange silver pod, cracked open on one side. It didn't look human, didn't even look real. Eli walked closer, heart racing. "Hello?" He called out. No answer, just smoke, sparks, and a strange humming sound. He pointed his flashlight into the pod. His eyes widened. There was someone inside, a woman, but not a woman. She had pale silver skin, glowing blue hair, and long fingers. Her eyes were closed, her chest rising slowly. She looked hurt, unconscious, maybe even dying. Eli stepped back, unsure what to do. But then, suddenly, her eyes opened. They were bright violet, full of fear and confusion. She gasped and tried to sit up. Eli raised his hands. "It's okay, I'm not going to hurt you." But she screamed. A sound that echoed deep into the night, then, in a strange but clear voice, she shouted, "What do I have to do to bond with you tonight, human?" Eli froze. "What did you just say?" She looked around, panicked, and tried to stand. Her leg was bleeding, and her breathing was heavy. I must bond now, or I will break," she said. Her voice was soft but desperate. Eli didn't understand bond. "What does that mean? Are you hurt?" She reached for him weakly, but her hand glowed blue. Eli stepped back. Hey, I don't know what's going on here, but you need help." The alien woman looked at him like time was running out. My ship is broken. My system is dying," she said. "I came to your world to escape the Virex." Eli shook his head. "The what?" She closed her eyes for a second. "The Virex hunters. They take my kind, use us, break us." She pointed at her chest. "We survive by bonding memory, mind, emotion." Then she pointed at Eli. "You are the only one nearby." Eli blinked. Trying to understand, was she asking for help or trying to control him? Was this a trick or real? His mind raced before he could answer. A strange noise echoed from the sky, a low hum, deep and cold. The alien woman's eyes widened in fear. "They found me," she whispered. "The Virex are near." Eli looked up, but saw nothing. Just clouds, smoke, and darkness. "Okay," he said slowly. "You need help. You're being hunted. But I need to know. If I help you, are you going to hurt me?" She shook her head quickly. "No. I swear I only need to connect, to live." Eli took a deep breath. He didn't know what bonding meant. He didn't know who the Virex were. But he could see the fear in her eyes. He could see she was running from something worse. He held out his hand. "All right then, let's get out of here." She smiled weakly and took his hand. A small pulse of energy passed between them. It felt warm, not painful. Like touching a memory, they walked toward Eli's bike behind them. The pod sank deeper into the ground. Above them, strange eyes in the sky were watching. Eli Carter couldn't sleep, not because he wasn't tired, but because there was an alien woman sleeping in his garage. Rain tapped gently on the metal roof. Tools hung on the walls, old tires stacked in corners. And in the middle of it all, on a blanket-covered table, lay a creature not from Earth. She was resting now, breathing slower, but every few minutes, her fingers twitched. And strange lights moved beneath her skin, like stars flowing under the surface of a silver ocean. Eli sat in a chair nearby, watching her. One hand held a wrench, not because he needed it, but because he didn't know what else to hold. It made him feel like he had control. He kept hearing her words again and again. What do I have to do to bond with you tonight, human? They were burned into his brain. What did she mean by that? What was bonding? Was it safe? Was it even real? As he sat there lost in thought, her eyes open, slow and glowing violet, she stared straight at him. I did not mean to frighten you, she whispered. Eli almost dropped the wrench. You're awake, he said, then paused. Can you speak English? She sat up slowly, holding her side. No, she said calmly. I speak in thought waves, but your mind is. Loud, it translates. Eli blinked, confused. Wait, you're reading my mind? Only the words on the surface, she replied. Your emotions are heavy. They make noise. Eli frowned. Sorry if I'm a little emotional. You crashed into Earth and screamed about bonding with me. Soria looked away, ashamed. I'm not a soldier. I am a navigator. My ship was meant for stars, not war. Her voice was soft but full of regret. I ran from them, from the Virex, she continued. They take my kind and turn us into tools. If I don't bond soon, I will collapse. My system needs balance, and I cannot make it alone. Eli leaned forward. What exactly happens if we bond? Is it like a merge, a download, a relationship? She gave a small smile. Not romance, not physical. It is emotional and mental connection to minds. One thread. Eli stood and walked around the garage. Why me, though? Why humans? You're close, emotionally open, and biologically responsive, she said. Your species is rare. Not because of your machines, but because you feel too deeply. Eli chuckled nervously. Never thought my feelings would save an alien. She placed her hand on her chest. You saved me already by pulling me from the wreck. The bond would only share it. Eli stopped pacing. Okay, let's say I agree. What's the risk? Soraya looked at him with sad eyes. If we are not compatible, your brain may burn, or mine may freeze. He raised an eyebrow. That's comforting. Suddenly, a high-pitched whine echoed through the garage. Soraya's eyes widened. She grabbed her head and fell to her knees. What is it? Eli shouted, running to her. They're scanning, she gasped. They found my signal. They're close. Without thinking, Eli turned off the lights. The garage went dark. Except for her glowing skin, he pulled down the blinds, then looked. Out the small window, in the distance, strange shadows moved across the desert. Like walking wires or floating bones, not human, not even robotic. Something worse. We don't have much time, he said. Can you walk? She nodded slowly. I must shut down my field, or they will find me, but I need help. Your help. Eli took a breath, then reached for her hand. Then let's do it. Whatever this bond is, we try now. She looked surprised. You accept? I don't like running away from problems, he said, especially when one of them is bleeding on my floor. Soria touched his forehead gently. Then close your eyes, she whispered, and don't fight it. A soft light wrapped around them both. Eli felt his heart slow down, his mind float, then a rush. Memories not his own. A planet with two suns, floating temples, screams in the dark, chains, escape, flight. Then his own memories echoed back at him. His mother's voice, his father's garage. The sound of metal, the smell of oil, the pain of being left alone, and in the middle of it all, Soraya's voice, I see you now, human, you are not weak. The light faded. Eli opened his eyes, sweat on his face, but no pain. He was still. Alive, you didn't burn, she whispered, surprised. And you didn't freeze, he replied, outside. The Virex shadows came closer, but inside the garage, something new had been born. A connection, a bond, and a reason to fight back. The first thing Eli noticed when he woke up was silence. Not the normal kind. Not the kind filled with ticking clocks or buzzing wires. This was a thick, heavy silence, like the world was holding its breath. Then came the sound, not from outside, but from inside his own mind. A whisper, a voice not his, but familiar. You are awake, Eli Carter. He sat up quickly and looked around. He was still in his garage, but the lights were dim, tools were scattered. Dust floated in the air, and standing at the corner, glowing faintly, was Soraya. She didn't speak out loud, her lips didn't move, but he could hear her clearly in his thoughts. Our bond is partial but stable. He held on longer than expected. Eli rubbed his head. It felt like waking up from a dream full of someone else's memories. He had seen things, strange cities, stars shaped like diamonds, and pain. So much pain as this. Is this going to be forever? He asked, his voice low. Soraya tilted her head. Not unless we complete the connection. Eli stood up and stepped back. Wait, this isn't done? She looked sad. No. What we did was surface bonding. We shared fragments, emotion, memory, energy. But a full bond means merging fully. Mind to mind. Eli's heartbeat sped up. That sounds like a problem, not a solution. Before she could answer, a sudden pulse of energy shook the room. Lights flickered, metal clanged, and the walls trembled. Soraya gasped. The Virex are close. They have launched a scan bomb. It scrambles all tech. They are searching for me with force now. Eli ran to the door and peeked outside. In the distance, glowing shapes moved like shadows with minds, machines made of bone and fire, unnatural. In getting closer, he slammed the door shut. I don't have time to argue about bonding. Tell me what happens if we don't do it. Soraya placed a hand on her chest. My system will collapse within 24 Earth hours, without full connection. I cannot stabilize. Eli narrowed his eyes. And if we do the full bond, what happens to me? She looked down. Your brain may reject me, or your memories may fade. If your emotions are not balanced, the merge could overload your system. Eli laughed bitterly. So either you die, or I lose my mind. Great choices, but then the garage shook again. Dust fell from the ceiling. A crack opened on the floor. A robotic screech echoed nearby. Soraya stepped closer. I will not force you, but if I die, they will come for you next. He looked at her. For a moment, he didn't see an alien. He saw someone alone, hunted, broken. Someone who didn't ask to be here. He took a breath. Then we do it. But I have one rule, he said. You don't erase who I am. You don't change my memories. If I forget my dad's voice, if I forget who I used to be, then I'm already dead. Soraya nodded slowly. I will protect your core self. That is my vow. They sat on the floor, cross-legged. Her hands glowed. His heart raced. Close your eyes, she said softly. This time, the connection hit faster. Eli saw her whole world's childhood in floating cities. Sisterhoods of light escaped from cages, running through metal tunnels, crying without sound. And she saw his, a quiet boy fixing bikes, a father teaching him how to repair an engine, the moment his mom left, the moment his dad died. It's the silence. After the loneliness that grew like rust, their minds met in the center. And for a moment, there was no pain, only peace. Then the pain returned. Soraya screamed inside his mind. Eli felt heat, pressure, like fire pressing on his skull. Something was trying to break the bond from the outside. The Virex were hacking it, trying to corrupt the connection before it finished. Eli held on. No, not this time, he said through the link. I'm not letting anyone take this from me. A surge of human willpower blasted through the bond. Raw emotion, full of fire. Soraya gasped. What is that? That's strength? It's not logic. It's not code. It's called gut instinct, Eli growled. You wanted to bond with a human? Well, here we are. The bond sealed. Light exploded around them. The Virex screech faded into the distance. And silence returned. But this time, it wasn't empty. It was peaceful. Eli opened his eyes. Soraya was still holding his hands, smiling. You did it? You stabilized me. No, he said quietly. We stabilized each other outside. The desert was no longer just Earth. It had become a battlefield, and now a human and an alien were ready for what was coming next. Asterisk, the sun was just beginning to rise, but it wasn't warm, it was cold. Like something old and dangerous had returned to the world, Eli Carter stood at the edge of the desert, dust on his boots, wind in his face, behind him. The garage still smoked. From the night's battle, and beside him, glowing faintly, stood Soraya. No longer weak, no longer just a visitor. Now, they were bonded. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. Thoughts passed between them like soft echoes, clear, direct, honest. But they both felt it. Something was following, something unseen but close. The Virex were hunting. And they weren't alone anymore. "Time to move," Eli said, climbing into his old rusted pickup truck. The engine roared to life, louder than usual. Soraya sat beside him, her hands glowing as she touched the dashboard. The truck lights brightened. The engine became smoother, faster. "You just upgraded a 20-year-old engine with your finger," Eli said, surprised. "Your machines are simple." Soraya replied, but they listened as they sped down the highway. The desert stretched out like an empty map, but behind them, the sky twisted. Something unnatural moved in the clouds, a Virex scout ship, invisible to radar but clear too. Her senses, "They're close," she whispered. "They smell fear, track energy. They hate connection." Eli clenched the wheel. "Then we give them something new to chase." They pulled off the road into an old canyon. Rocks surrounded them, narrow paths and shadows everywhere. A perfect place to hide or be hunted. As they reached a dead end, Eli stopped the truck. He stepped out and scanned the cliffs, then looked at Soraya. "Can you sense them?" She closed her eyes. A pulse of light ran down her spine. There are near 3 of them. Scouts, fast, sharp, no emotion. Suddenly, a piercing sound rang through the canyon. It wasn't from above, it was inside their heads. A mental scream, cold and empty. Soraya staggered. "They're trying to break the bond. They use fear to shatter trust." Eli stepped in front of her. Then they picked the wrong guy to mess with. Out of the shadows, they came. Tall, sharp, insect-like machines with glowing red eyes. But their movements weren't robotic. They were graceful, deadly, alive. One leaped toward Eli with impossible speed. He didn't think. He just moved, and something strange happened. His body shifted, not in shape, but in instinct. He dodged the attack before he saw it. His reflexes were faster, sharper. Like he had downloaded someone else's training. Soraya gasped. "The bond is adapting. You are learning through me." Eli grabbed a metal rod from the truck bed and swung it hard. The rod hit the Virex drone and sparked. The machine stumbled back. Surprised, Soraya raised her hand. Light formed. In her palm, like a living flame, she threw it, and the second drone exploded in midair. But the third was smarter. It didn't attack directly. It sent a dark wave into the air, a psychic pulse. Eli felt it like poison in his chest. Voices, lies, whispers. "She's using you. You're just another tool. You will be forgotten, Eli." Dropped to one knee. The doubt was heavy, thick like smoke. But Soraya knelt beside him. She touched his face gently. "I see you, Eli. I do not use you. I stand because of you." Their minds linked again. And the darkness faded. Eli stood up, his eyes sharper, heart steady. He looked at the last Virex drone and whispered, "Your tricks don't work here." Then, together, he and Soraya unleashed their joined power, a blast of human will and alien. Light, it hit the drone like thunder, crushing it into the rock. The canyon went quiet again. Only wind and dust remained. Eli turned to her, breathing hard. "You said I might learn from you. Skills, senses, speed." "Yes," she said. Softly, "But now I see I'm learning too." "What are you learning?" he asked, wiping blood from his lip. She looked at him. "Courage. Instinct. And something else? Humans don't fight because they must. You fight because you choose to." They walked back to the truck. Soraya looked up at the sky. "They'll send more, stronger, faster, crueler. Let them." Eli said, starting the engine, "They'll find Earth isn't just a primitive world." He smiled. "It's a planet with people who never give up." And as they drove off into the sunrise, the bond between them glowed brighter than ever. Hunter and hunted now. They were both something more. Eli Carter never believed the Earth had secrets. Sure, governments lied. Sure, companies hid things. But he never thought the planet itself was hiding something until now, until the night his garage burned, till the bond, the hunters, the chase. Until Soraya now, as the truck rumbled across the desert. He looked at her, the glowing alien beside him, eyes like twin galaxies. And he asked the question that had been burning in his mind, why Earth? But out of all the stars, all the galaxies, why did you come here? She looked at the sky, as if remembering something far away. Because Earth is dangerous, she said quietly. And no one dares to land where danger lives. Eli frowned. Dangerous how? Soraya turned her head slowly toward him. Not your weapons, not your science. You are dangerous because of your unpredictability. Your species is full of chaos, and chaos can't be controlled. The words sat heavy in the air. They drove. In silence, until she spoke again, there is a place not far, an old outpost, buried deep. Not human, not new. You must see it, Eli didn't ask more. Something in her voice told him this was serious. And strange as it sounded, he trusted her. They drove off-road, deep into the cliffs and canyons. Then into a narrow valley no one ever noticed. There hidden under a broken water tank, Soraya waved her hand, and the ground shifted. Rocks moved, dirt lifted, and a stairway opened beneath them. It wasn't glowing, it wasn't fancy, just cold metal and silence. They walked down together, each step heavier than the last. The air grew thick, the light dimmed, and then they reached it, a massive underground room. Walls covered in writing, symbols, diagrams, and at the center, a black table with holograms flickering, but they weren't in alien language. They were in English. Eli stepped back, confused. Wait, what? This place. It knew we were coming. Soraya stared at the symbols, then slowly said, This is not my people's design. This was built by humans long ago. Eli shook his head. That's not possible. We've never had contact with aliens. Not for real. She walked to the table and placed her hand on the surface. It lit up instantly. A deep voice echoed from the walls. Digital, but ancient. Human subject recognized. Eli Carter. Genetic line connected. Awakening Earth. Directive, Protocol Sigma 1. Eli stumbled back. What the hell does that mean? Soraya's eyes widened. This means your planet knew. Earth was never asleep. It was waiting. The hologram showed stars, ships, battles, and Earth at the center. A small planet ignored by galactic empires because it was labeled unstable, do not engage. Soraya read it out loud, slowly. Humans. We're marked as too dangerous to control by galactic law. Eli stared in silence. So we're... What? The galaxy's bad neighborhood? She nodded. Your minds bend logic. Your emotions break systems. Even your history is full of resistance, never surrender. The galaxy fears what it doesn't understand. Eli looked down. For the first time, he didn't feel small. He felt important. Soraya stepped closer. Your father, is he ever in the military? Eli paused. No, but he was always fixing machines. He said some were special orders, ones he couldn't talk about. Soraya nodded. This place responds. To your DNA, that means your bloodline is linked to the hidden ones, humans who knew. Long before now, suddenly a warning alarm echoed through the chamber. A red light flashed on the walls. Virex scout approaching. Distance. 3,000 meters, Eli turned to her. We can't fight them here. Not underground. Soraya looked at the hologram. Final image appeared. A deep mountain with a glowing core. A place marked Earth Core Relay. Last line of defense, she whispered. We need to reach. This site, it holds Earth's final memory, and maybe a way to turn the Virex back. Eli nodded. Then we go now, as they ran up the stairs and jumped back into the truck. The sky outside was already turning black, not from night, but from something huge, approaching fast. Eli slammed the gas. I used to think Earth was just dirt and sky, he said, breathing hard. Soraya smiled through the wind, and now... He grinned. Now I know we're the galaxy's best-kept secret. And as they raced toward the unknown, one thing became clear. Earth wasn't just part of the fight. Earth was the key. Asterisk the dream wasn't his, but he was inside it. Eli stood in a floating city made of light and glass above him. Two suns, burned gold in a violet sky around him. Children laughed in a language he didn't speak, but he knew them. They knew him. And then, everything shattered. The sky turned black. The buildings melted. The laughter turned to screaming. And the ground was swallowed by machines. The Virex had come. Eli woke up gasping. Sweat dripped from his forehead. His hands were shaking, but the vision didn't fade. He could still feel the metal under his skin. Saria stood nearby, watching quietly. "I showed you my worst memory," she said gently. "I wanted you to see why I ran." Eli nodded. It wasn't just fear. He said it was survival. They were camped near a cliff. Just above the old Earth core relay, the last secret site, the place that held something ancient, something powerful, and now the Virex were coming to destroy it. Saria sat across. From him, her skin glowed soft blue in the firelight. "The full bond is not just memory sharing," she said. "It's surrender." Eli frowned. "Surrender?" "Yes," she replied to each other. "To trust. To truth." He stood, pacing. "I've trusted you since day one, haven't I?" She looked at him, calm but sad. "You've let me in, but only the parts you control. The full bond means I will know every piece of you, even the ones you've buried." Eli's chest tightened. Old memories clawed at the edge of his mind. His dad's death, the silence that followed, the anger, the guilt, the night he almost gave up. Saria reached out. "You carry pain like armor, but now we need each other fully. The Virex are not machines. They are voices. They twist thoughts. If we go into that relay without full unity, they will pull us apart from the inside." Eli stared into the fire. He was terrified, not of death, but of being known, truly known. But then he heard the sound. Again, that terrible hum from the sky. They were coming. Hundreds this time, not scouts, soldiers. He looked at Saria and nodded. "Then let's finish this bond." All of it. They stood face to face. Her hands met his chest. His fingers touched her temples. "No barriers," she whispered. "No fear." He replied. Then the world vanished. He fell into her mind, and she into his. No separation, no secrets. Every memory laid bare, every wound opened. Eli saw Saria's first flight as a child. Her sister taken by the Virex, the guilt of escape, the long flight through cold stars. She saw Eli's lonely childhood, his first breakdown. The moment he almost ended his own life, but didn't. Because of one small voice that said, "Keep going." They didn't just understand each other. They became each other. And something changed. Their bond became a flame, their thoughts moved faster than light. They were not two minds anymore. They were one force. Their bodies glowed. Their energy rose into the sky like a beacon, and the Virex saw it from miles away. They screamed in rage. They had seen this once before. A full bond, a hybrid mind, a living weapon. Eli opened his eyes. He could feel Saria's thoughts inside. Him like wind in his blood. He could move faster, think clearer. He was no longer afraid. Saria stepped forward. Her voice echoed like music and thunder. "They come to destroy," she said. "But we are not broken anymore." Together, they walked toward the relay doors. It opened at their presence. The chamber inside pulsed with ancient earth energy. Voices of old human scientists. Warriors, defenders. The system recognized their DNA, both human and alien. "Welcome, bonded guardians." The system spoke. Earth's final defenses. Ready? Outside, the sky cracked open. Virex ships descended like falling swords. Eli and Saria stood at the center of the relay, not just as survivors, but as something new. Signal went out, a warning, a challenge, a message sent across. "Stars, Earth is awake, and we are not alone." It didn't begin with a bang. It began with a heartbeat. One human, one alien. And the echo of something ancient waking up deep beneath the earth. Eli Carter stood inside the Earth core relay. A storm of energy pulsed around him. His body was still human, but his mind was no longer alone. Saria's voice lived inside him now, not like a whisper. More like a presence. She was part of him, and he was part of her. They had become a bond the galaxy had tried to erase. A connection even the Virex couldn't calculate. Above the ground, the sky had cracked wide open. Vyrex's warships poured in. Black and burning like steel insects, the ground shook with each arrival. Earth had never seen machines like this, but Earth had also never seen someone like Eli Carter. He stepped out of the relay as fire rained down, dust flew, wind howled. And from the clouds came the leader of Vyrex Prime, shaped like a living storm, 10 feet tall, with wires for muscles and a face of shifting glass. It spoke without words, straight into Eli's mind. "You are unclean. The bond is forbidden. You will be erased," Eli smiled. "Yeah, get in line." He raised his hand and light burst from his palm. Not alien light, not human light, hybrid light. The Vyrex Prime struck first. Its arm turned into a blade of black plasma. It came fast, but Eli was faster. He moved like someone dancing with fate, dodged, spun, struck back. Saria guided his mind, his body reacted. Each move was emotion, instinct. Memory combined into action, the Prime roared and sent out a shockwave. It destroyed everything in a circle of fire. But Eli stood tall, grounded by something deeper. Not just power, purpose. "I'm not just fighting for Earth," he said, voice shaking the air. "I'm fighting for every bond you broke, every life you erased." Behind him, the relay rose. Beams of energy launched into the sky, not as weapons, but as signals. Soraya's voice rose through the clouds. "To those who listen beyond the stars, Earth is not what you think. We are not primitive. We are not prey. We are the storm you fear across the galaxy." Watchers turned their heads. Old species opened, forgotten files. And silent machines paused for the first time in centuries. Back on Earth, Eli's final battle began. Steel clashed with light. The Vyrex Prime grew more aggressive. It unleashed mind attacks, memories, lies, visions of failure. Eli saw his father dying again. His mother walking away, himself as a child, crying alone. But this time, he didn't hide from it, stepped into it. He let the pain rise, and he owned it. "You wanted to break me with my past," he said. "But I built myself from it." And then, the final blow, he drove the last of his energy into the Prime's chest. Not just power, but memory. The Prime screamed, its mind overloaded by the depth of human emotion. Guilt, joy, sorrow, defiance. It couldn't process it. It couldn't control it. And with a flash, the Vyrex leader collapsed. Silence fell all over the sky. Vyrex ships froze without their hive leader. They had no command. One by one, they shut down, fell from the sky like dying stars. Eli dropped to his knees, his body shaking, his breath shallow. Soraya's voice echoed gently in his mind. "You've done it, they're gone." But he could feel her energy fading. The bond had cost her everything. "No," he whispered. "Don't leave me now," she didn't reply. Only a soft warmth in his chest, then stillness. HFY sat alone under the rising sun, wind blowing through silent machines, but something remained, a trace of her inside him, a pulse, a breath. Not gone, changed. He stood up slowly, looked at the horizon, and spoke, not just for himself, but for every forgotten voice, every bonded soul. "Every human who ever chose to fight back, we're still here," he said, "and we remember." The world would never know the full truth, not yet, but Earth had changed. And Eli Carter had become more than a man. He had become a bridge, a warning, and a promise. The galaxy had tried to erase humanity's chaos, but in the end, that chaos saved them all.